they're escalating the violence, just like they're escalating the violence with Iran, just like they're escalating the violence with Gaza. And that is for the Muslims and the Christians to destroy themselves, the Goyim to destroy themselves. So that'll leave the Israelis in charge. And that brings about a greater Israel, which is a much larger area than Israel is now. And then eventually, after this war, the one world false Messiah of Israel emerges that they say they already have. That's what's going on here.
Hey friends, welcome back. Thanks so much for tuning in. That was Major Jeffrey Prather, and we're going to talk about the elephant in the room today. Guys, it's another gloomy day in the state of Minnesota where I live. We've had about the crappiest summer weather I can remember in my lifetime. It feels like we've barely had a summer at all. It's been so gloomy. But you know where it's always gloomy, 24/7, 365? Gaza. As I sit here and complain about the weather, there are still grocery stores I can go to buy food. I still have a roof over my head. There are gas stations with gas and running water from my sink. What is our responsibility regarding the ongoing genocide in Gaza? What would Jesus say about what's going on in Gaza? Well, we dig deep into it in this conversation with Jeff Prather. Thanks so much for tuning in, friends. Before we start, just a quick word about a valued sponsor. If you're getting close to retirement or just thinking ahead, you've probably done a solid job of saving. But there's something most people don't consider. How much of that money is just sitting in cash? It might feel safe, but holding too much cash guarantees one thing: you're losing purchasing power. Fiat is a melting ice cube. That's why more people are looking at real assets like physical gold and silver to protect their savings. And one company makes it easy: Noble Gold Investments. You can buy physical gold or silver, coins or bars, and even have them shipped to your home or stored securely. It's a smart way to convert cash into something that actually holds value. Noble Gold is fair, transparent, and they will not pressure you. Just solid information and real options. Now, past performance can't indicate future results. Investing in precious metals, like stocks, involves risk. So consult your financial advisor before making any investment decisions. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com. Go today. That's noblegoldinvestments.com. When you own real assets, you have real wealth. Hey friends, welcome back. How you doing today? We appreciate you tuning in. Friends, this one's going to get us into some hot water today. We are going to talk about the elephant in the room, Zionism. And to quote my friend, Major Jeffrey Prather, American Christian Zionists need an ideological, spiritual hostage rescue. I think he may have mentioned Trump in that quote as well. Today we'll talk about October 7th, a proven stand down. How about the red heifer being burned secretly? And the third temple, why Israel wants war. Let me welcome my guest back, Jeffrey Prather. How are you, sir?
Great. Thanks for having me back, Sean.
Well, I'm really thrilled to have you back. And like I said, Jeff, I think we're going to get into a bit of hot water today because, you know, the mainstream media and frankly, the powers that ought not be, well, they don't like you criticizing anything Israel does at any point in any way, shape, or form. But I want to play this soundbite just to kick things off. This is Gideon Levy describing what Israel has done to the people in Gaza since October 7th. Listen to this.
Ever since then, Israel committed 1,007th of October. You understand it? 1,007th of October, Israel committed. The children, if you take the numbers, the figures, the way that they are being killed, you see that we cannot claim again and again about the 7th of October and justify with the 7th of October all those horrible crimes against humanity which are taking place. There is a stage in which this is unacceptable anymore. You cannot again and again try to remind us about the terrible things that happened on the 7th of October and the 20 living hostages. You know that every 6 minutes, every 6 hours, Israel is killing 20 people? And they are as innocent as the hostages, among them many children. So stop with the 7th of October.
All right. The 7th of October, Israel's 9/11. Jeff, what do we know now about October 7th, the excuse to level Gaza, and essentially the excuse for an ongoing genocide?
Well, at the time when Netanyahu called it their 9/11, of course, that rang bells immediately because on 9/11, the FBI and the CIA were complicit in 9/11 happening. It's not that planes didn't fly into buildings, they did, but the FBI was not allowed to investigate those guys learning how to fly. The Israeli art students that had been in the towers were not detained. The Saudi family was released by the CIA. And of course, that's become well-known fact. So when we go to October 7th, immediately my alarm bells went off because I was a DEA special agent that worked the Nogales, Arizona, Nogales, Sonora border for a decade. So I'm very familiar with border security, and I am also familiar with Israeli border security. The Israeli-Gazan border is the most fortified and most surveilled border in the world, above, on, and below it completely. In fact, there is a female IDF surveillance unit that had been warning the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, and government command in reports for a year about the coming attacks. They'd go right up to the wall and practice. So when it happened, the quick reaction force, the QRF for the border, is less than 5 minutes. So for a 7-hour stand down where guys are gliding across in motorized hand gliders and coming up in trucks and tractors, it's absolutely ludicrous to believe that the IDF was not in on this. It's not that Gazans didn't come across and slaughter Israeli civilians. They did. But it's that the Israeli government and the IDF were complicit in it, just like the same that were complicit in 9/11, CIA, Mossad, FBI were complicit on October 7th. And back when I had a show on AMP, General Flynn, my friend General Flynn, came on and confirmed that he'd actually been to that border, and he confirmed a 7-hour stand down. And that was, again, to give an excuse for them to level Gaza and to commit genocide against Gaza, because what that interviewer there said is exactly right. There's 3, 4, 5, 10 times the number of Gazans killed as the number of Israelis killed. They moved the rave party closer to the border. They also disarmed the settlers right before that. And the first people that were taken hostage and killed were the female surveillance unit, because they don't want any more witnesses coming forward. In fact, they want it so much that they have outlawed anybody to question the script in Israel. So that's how severe this cover-up is. And it is a ongoing cover-up in America, because Americans are heretically told by their pastors that the state of Israel is some kind of special nation, which is not scripturally correct. I'm also a Christian chaplain. That's a heresy. Because Yeshua, which is Jesus's actual name, which means Joshua, stood on the temple steps and accused the Pharisees and Sanhedrin and told them the parable of the vineyard and the owner of the vineyard sending the workers, and they were beat up, and then finally sending his son, and they killed the son. And he says, and when you kill the son, you are no longer the chosen people, and the vineyard will be given to others. And that's in all the synoptic gospels. That's in Mark, Matthew, and Luke. So it's really clear that the true people of Israel, by Yeshua's own word, are no longer the Hebrews, the Jews, because they killed the son of the vineyard. That's scripture. But so many American Christian Zionist pastors have been bought into this and sold off by donations from Israel, the AIPAC organization, that they teach this false scripture and people buy into it over and over.
Well, they do. And we can talk about the history of why they buy into it, the Balfour Declaration. But before that, the Schofield Bible. We should talk about that, because I know you can school people on the actual history of how this brainwashing has occurred, Jeffrey. But I want to get this on the historical record. Guys, this is an IDF soldier with his firsthand testimony about October 7th being a false flag.
אצלנו השבעה באוקטובר מתחיל לפני 6:30. אני הייתי לוחם במחלקת מרגמות בגדוד 13, גולני, ובאותו לילה אני, יותם סרור, הסמל שלי תמר בן יהודה, זיכרונו לברכה, שלושתנו עושים לילה לבן. הרשינו לעצמנו בשבתות וחגים במיוחד לעשות לילה לבן עד לכוננות עם שחר, ואתם יודעים, יש לנו זמן לישון מחלקת מרגמות עד לכוננות הבאה. אז ב-5:20 בבוקר אנחנו יושבים ליד הקשר כדי לא להעיר מאזין, והסמג"ד שלי, ניר בוינפלק, שגם הוא נפצע קשה, וברוך השם הוא שרד, פתאום עולה בקשר בהודעה מוזרה. כל התחנות, לא יודע למה, לא יודע איך, משהו בסגנון הזה, אין סיור בגדר עד 9 בבוקר.
באיזה שעה זה?
5:20 בבוקר.
Jeff, I know that there are better sound bites than that one, but I just want to share with the audience what's really going on here. Your comments on the stand down and what has resulted since.
Yeah, so initially when I made my intelligence assessment and I broke this story, and then General Flynn confirmed it, and now he's out there publicizing it, which is fine. He's a bigger name than me. Later on, multiple IDF soldiers have come forward and confirmed the story. The government, of course, is denying that. But the first people that were killed and taken hostage were the female surveillance unit. And now that they're going to put boots on the ground permanently in Gaza, that will result in the execution of the remaining hostages. And the Israeli family hostage group are protesting that, because that's what they're saying. You're signing the death warrants of our family members who are hostages. And they want to do that because they don't want any more whistleblowers and witnesses coming forward. And the best witnesses are from the Israeli all-female surveillance unit that warned about this for a year. And Shin Bet, which is the domestic intelligence service, says, well, yeah, we just didn't take them seriously. I can tell you, there's just no way that is a viable explanation, because they were practicing right there over and over. You could see what they were doing. They were moving things closer and closer right up to the border. So you see all that amassing. So 9/11 was basically allowed to happen so that Israel's enemies would become America's enemies, and Israel would be able to focus America's might on Israel's enemies in the Middle East. But that said, the Green Berets, and I was, honored to serve in Special Forces, 595 Operations Detachment A Team 595 and 555 Triple Nickel, and I've got a signed bottle of horse soldiers right back there, went in, and within weeks they overthrew the Taliban government. And so that was done. We could have left then, but instead Delta came in, Dev Group came in, then Big Army came in, and then of course we went into Iraq again. And then of course, after 20 years of sacrifice of blood and treasure, there is the debacle of leaving all our equipment and reinstalling a terrorist government. So October 7th was to actually focus on the extermination and takeover of the Gazan territory. That's the difference.
Yeah. And the reason we're having this conversation is because Christians, Trump supporters, conservatives, many of them, not all of them, but a large percentage, are standing down while this genocide happens day in and day out. Men, women, and children, their buildings, their homes, their schools, their hospitals being leveled to the ground. A genocide in real time, and America is still supplying the weapons of war. What magic spell does Bibi Netanyahu have over this country? What spell does he have over Donald J. Trump? And why should our listeners care about what's going on here? Your comments on Bibi Netanyahu's power, his lingering power, and how he's still clinging to power when he should be tried for crimes against humanity.
Well, again, this goes back to Darby right after the Civil War, where he starts putting footnotes in the Holy Bible, emphasizing Israel. And of course, there's no state of Israel yet, but then the Schofield Bible comes along and makes the same heresies, footnotes pointing to Israel. When again, clearly in the Synoptic Gospels, Jesus, Yeshua, tells the parable right up to the Pharisees and the Sanhedrin on the steps of the temple and say, when you kill the son, you are no longer the chosen people. Paul follows through with this as well, saying true Israelites are those who are following Christ as well. Yeshua says this too. Here comes Nathaniel, a true Israelite. So the whole idea that Israel as a nation state is some kind of holy special nation is not biblical, is not scriptural in any basis, because until the end of World War II, there was no state of Israel. There was a religious community of Jews, of Hebrews following the Torah, and also misled by the Talmud, which is the rabbinic commentary on the Torah. But anyway, that's the historical perspective. Netanyahu is a product of the United States. If you look back, he's a product of the CIA as well. But right after World War II, when Israeli forces or pre-Israeli forces are committing terrorist acts against the British, and the nation is born in a day, which activates which fulfills lots of Torah prophecies, Old Testament prophecies, and activates Revelation, so that we're now doing Bible study is the news. It's not history anymore. Right then, intelligence apparatus gets activated, and it begins to be used to further infiltrate the American government. And now it is totally infiltrated very purposefully, because what people have to understand about intelligence organizations, you got to remember, I was in the Defense Intelligence Agency, that's the Pentagon CIA, while I was a DEA, Drug Enforcement Administration special agent, and I started off in special operations and psychological operations, is while intelligence organizations are supposed to collect intelligence, they collect intelligence by collecting people. And they also want to, besides do intelligence collection operations, they want to do information dissemination operations, which are psychological operations. So building up the state of Israel as a special holy institution, which is not scriptural in any way, if you're a Christian, if you're following Christ, is a psychological operation that has been perpetrated highly successfully on the American people, on the working class, on the Bible Belt, and then for Congress, at least half of Congress have dual citizenship with Israel. So you can't serve two masters, quoting Yeshua again. So how can you expect to serve as a United States representative when you are a dual citizen with Israel? You can't. So Trump is clearly in thrall at this point. I was very just about this for a long time, even though he had a gold replica of the Ark of the Covenant that is supposedly going to be placed in the third temple at Mar-a-Lago for a long time. He's admitted he has a Kabbalah teacher, which is Jewish mysticism. Of course, much of his family is Jewish. He's surrounded by Zionists as well. But of course, we didn't sign up for bombing Iran. We didn't sign him up, vote for him for the genocide in Gaza. We wanted government cleanup. And none of that is happening. The deep state isn't getting smaller. The deep state's getting deeper.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that because we know about the Five Eyes visit that Kash Patel made to New Zealand. You covered that in detail. We'll get to that in a minute. But I want to point out, too, for the audience that we sure get a lot of talk about reigning in the deep state. All right, Pam Bondi investigating Adam Schiff. Well, why are they leaking that? As opposed to just indicting Adam Schiff and then break that news. Right? It's just so much. Oh, it's so frustrating. Well, what I want to do is show folks we're not moving off the Gaza situation yet. Let's just support what Jeffrey was saying about the historical facts about how Israel rose to power, what the Zionist state of Israel is at its very core. Here's David Icke.
Sabbatai Zevi claimed to be the Jewish Messiah. The Sultan of the Ottoman Empire said to him, convert to Islam. Zevi converted to Islam, but he didn't really. They ran this Sabbatean operation as a cult. manipulating themselves into positions of power and taking them over. And then in the next century, along came Jacob Frank. Frank claimed that he was the reincarnation of Sabbatai Zevi and the Jewish patriarch Jacob. And he became connected to the Rothschilds. Part of what Jacob Frank did was to infiltrate the Roman Church. Three of them, Weishaupt, Rothschild, and Jacob Frank, created the Bavarian Illuminati. And the Bavarian Illuminati were behind many revolutions. The Rothschilds, they got together with other Jewish, I would say Sabbatean, banking families in Germany. And they basically created the modern banking system. The Rothschilds are not Jewish, they are Sabbatean, an inversion of it. They've used Jewish people as the cover, the shield, which is why no one needs to know this story more than Jewish people, because they've been shafted and misled more than anyone else.
All right. I think that's very, very important to share with the audience, especially the Zionists. You talked about the need for American Christian Zionists to have an ideological and spiritual hostage rescue. That's what we're attempting to do here today, Jeffrey.
Yes, and I got to give credit to my Team America operations officer, Nathan Glover, who is a former Jew turned Christian, for coming up with that phrase. We were talking about this in the Team America meeting. Team America is a all-volunteer organization. It's just Americans relying on each other and God, and not relying on corrupt government in DC, just like we stopped relying on corrupt government in Britain. You can join that at jeffreyprather.com. We're behind the scenes. We're not militia. We are resistance in plain sight, and we don't do anything illegal, immoral, unethical, or violent. But we are there. But I'm so glad and proud of you, Sean, for Ike's description of Sabbateanism and Frankism, because that's really the roots of all this. And that's the roots of the Epstein travesty and abominations as well. It's not Khazarianism. Khazarianism, so many libertarian luminaries buy into the myth of Khazarianism, which has never been proven, but Zevi Sabbatea and Frankism is clearly historical and easily proven, and it's the roots of all this. And the philosophy went something like this: to be redeemed or saved, you've got to go to the lowest depths of depravity. So raping children, and that's right there with Epstein Island and everything, whatever depravity. And you saw this with Pedo Joe, always grabbing children, biting on children, fondling children. The more depraved, the lower you get, the better you will be able to be redeemed, was this ridiculous, and that's what he means by inverted Mosaic philosophy. And so that's the real basis. So I'm really glad that you've got all that right. And then this all morphs into the Rothschilds, which morphs into the modern banking institutions. Can't leave out the Templars there as well. But yeah, that's where all this leads to. And that's what the Chabad Lubavitch in New York, when you saw the stained mattresses coming out and the children's high chairs and children's clothes coming out. It's the same thing. It's Zabbateism that is still going on and being perpetrated. And that in turn has been adopted by the intelligence agencies, the CIA and the FBI, which is an intelligence agency with a law enforcement cover and function as its storefront. And that's what's going on. That, again, it's a storefront cover up in New Zealand for the Wollapai satellite facility inside the New Zealand intelligence community, so that they can militarily target Gazans, Afghanis, and civilians as well. And so the intelligence organizations are what I call the deep state or the double government. They're the Praetorian Guard puppet masters that pull the puppet strings of those who pretend to be presidents and who pretend to preside over us. And then the global cabal is the international deep state, which is like the Five Eyes and other intelligence organizations and the WEF, World Economic Forum, and the UN. For example, the big UN camp in Panama in the Darien there. And so this is all a coordinated effort. But really what is most crucial here is that America seems to be returning to being a virtuous populace because I and others, we are not going to let go of the Epstein cover-up that Bondi and Patel and Bongino and Trump have all just bought into, in that they're going to use the same extortion materials that Mossad seduced and recorded everybody, as opposed to coming clean, confessing, repenting, because we've got to have these intelligence structures. Well, tell me, what has these intelligence structures for these billions of dollars and all these sins and crimes against children produced? Did it predict or stop 9/11? Did it predict or stop October 7th? What about Benghazi? What about Afghanistan? None of them. Why? Because they are all in on it. So I've come to the conclusion, like Ted Gunderson, who was the FBI senior special agent in charge, who said the government is really behind all of these major crises. They are the instigators. They get people to do them. They happen, but they are government agents. They are government assets.
Hey, friends, pardon the interruption. Just a real quick word. We all know we're under attack, and not just from the air we breathe or the food we eat. We're being exposed to mRNA technology, injected into the food supply, spreading through shedding, and now 5G radiation saturating our environments with frequencies we still don't fully understand. These threats disrupt our biology at a cellular level, weakening immunity, inflaming our systems, and damaging our gut, the control center of our health. That's why I take Kamichi 1 from Brightcore Nutrition. Each capsule is packed with over 900 strains of probiotics, live enzymes, and antioxidants to help flush out toxins, rebuild gut balance, and fortify your immune system against the daily assault. Kamichi 1 is all natural, non-GMO, dairy-free, gluten-free, and 100% made in the USA by a company that truly cares about your health and freedom. So if you want to defend your body naturally, this is where to start. Right now, exclusively for my viewers, you can get 25% off Kamichi 1 by using code SGT at mybrightcore.com/SGT. Or, better yet, call 888-688-0642 for up to 50% off, free shipping, and a free bottle of D3, only when you call. That's 888-688-0642. The link and information is below.
They are the instigators. They get people to do them. They happen, but they are government agents. They are government assets.
I'm going to show your website again, and we're going to talk about the red heifer being burned secretly. We're going to talk about the Third Temple, because when we mention the House of Rothschild, I want to just paint the picture for folks that the House of Rothschild has not been neutered. These people still control every central bank on planet Earth. And friends, Nikki Hilton married a Rothschild. Trump's daughter married Jared Kushner. I'm just talking about the whole Jewish elephant in the room here. I think Clinton's daughter, Chelsea, married a very, very powerful guy connected potentially, I think, to the Rockefellers or Rothschilds. Maybe Jeff can correct me on that, but I'm coming back to you, Jeff. Here's a question. As somebody who's been on the inside, has military intelligence experience, what do you think this apparatus, this deep state, now has on guys like Kash Patel and Dan Bongino? Pam Bondi to some extent. Of course, Pam Bondi, maybe she played ball with the whole original sentencing of Jeffrey Epstein, the slap on the hand sentencing in Florida. But I think Kash Patel is a good guy. He was on my show before he ever became FBI director. Seems like a straight shooter. I would say the same about Dan Bongino. How do you explain what's going on with these guys? What's happened? What happens to these people as soon as they get power?
Well, what happened? So this is really an intelligence question. So when you want to, if you're an intelligence officer, if you're, for example, a DIA intelligence officer like I was, and you want to run tactical assets, or if you're a CIA case officer and you want to run agents, or if you're a special agent or detective and you want to run confidential informants, when you want to infiltrate an organization, you want to infiltrate it at the highest level possible. So when the CIA goes overseas, they like to get police chiefs, they like to get generals, or even presidents of countries. The thing is that since the CIA was so successful in Ukraine, they've now done that in the United States. And how they did that was with Hunter Biden, because Hunter gives you access to Pedo Joe. And so he was seduced by drugs and by child sex. And then he was filmed, and then he was extorted. It's the second oldest profession. And there's a lot of, so intelligence officer and asset matches pimp and prostitute, although you can do it ethically, as I did, and I give examples of how it's done ethically. But what happens is when these organizations don't think they have to follow certain rules is how they go bad. So what has happened is our government at the highest level has been infiltrated through espionage, and it has been dismantled through sabotage, because there is no counterintelligence and counter-sabotage capability. Why? Because the domestic intelligence, counterintelligence capability is the FBI, but it itself has been infiltrated. And so how does that happen? Well, when you're dealing with high-level assets, and I was dealing with high-level assets. That's how I became a whistleblower back in Fast and Furious. These guys are street smart, and that's why they're still alive. So, if we come from middle-class backgrounds, we go to college and then we go to school and we learn how to handle informants and handle assets and run assets. But these guys grow up in the mean streets of whatever, South America, Ukraine, Russia, wherever, America, New York, Chicago, Detroit, and they learn it by doing it. And if they don't do it right, they die. So when you get a high level asset, you've got to be very careful, because one month they may be working for the DEA, the next month they may be working for the CIA, the next month they may be working for the FBI, or they may be working for them simultaneously and not telling you. And if you're not careful, they'll start running you. And I've seen that happen multiple times with the FBI. And I've seen that happen, with the CIA, because the FBI and the CIA think they believe their own headlines, and they think they don't have to follow the rules. And I'll give you an example. If you saw the movie Zero Dark 30, which is not how bin Laden was found. Bin Laden was found through imagery, intelligence analysis of shadows. But there is a true story in there where there's a CIA female, and she's got a source that wants to come in, and she's all excited. So she bakes him a cake because it's his birthday. And so this is a supposedly reformed Muslim terrorist. And this is a true story. It happened. And so when he gets to the gate, the contractors, the veterans say, hey, we got to search him. We got to search the car. She's like, no. We don't want to upset him. We don't want to humiliate him. He doesn't have to be searched because we're the CIA. We know better. So the car drives into the compound. The guy sets off a vest IED. They're all killed. Another example is Tom Spann, the first Special Activities Division guy of the CIA, former Marine, who goes into the compound shortly after the Special Forces were in Afghanistan. And there's two sad guys. There's a Green Beret team. It's ODA 595, guys I've had on my show, the Green Berets. I go, hey, those guys are not unarmed. There's hundreds of them. You want us to go in there with you? Spann, no. We're good. That Tom Spann is the first KIA in Afghanistan because he's CIA. So these guys in FBI and CIA are told all the time that they're above the regulations. They're above how you do things. And so that's how they get corrupted.
Yeah. You know what? My brain got spinning while you were talking, and here's a terrible analogy, but I think it's sort of apropos. The deep state, our government, because it has been taken over by this entity, runs a little bit like an NFL football team, to the extent that, in this case, the star quarterback might be Kash Patel or Dan Bongino. Now, they answer to their coach, Donald J. Trump. Now, in the mind's eye of the average viewer, the coach is the boss. The buck stops with the coach. But in reality, the general manager of the football team sits above the coach. That would be like the intelligence agencies. But guess what? Above the general manager is the team owner. We're talking Rothschild. We're talking Rockefeller. I think that is a pretty decent analogy of what we're up against here. And it always leads back to the bankers, their intelligence agencies, and the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, and names I don't even know, right?
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. And beyond those are hyper rich ancient families that believe death is a disease, not a transition, because of course they don't care about souls. And then above that are principalities and powers, and up at the top of that is a satanic source.
All right. Well,
but you're right. The whole thing, the biggest disappointment in the administration is Bondi, because if you don't have an attorney general that's aggressive, then anything goes. And it's even worse than it was under Pedo Joe, because people believe that Bondi is doing something because they keep putting out these PR stunts. But where's the indictments for Pedo Joe, where Pedo Joe fired the Ukraine investigator, attorney general that was investigating? Where's the Fauci indictments? Where's the Russia Gate indictments? Where are any indictments for all the crimes of the Biden crime family under the last 4 years? Nothing has happened. And there's plenty of proof. There's no shortage of proof in any of this. I mean, these things could be put together immediately. I put together complex criminal investigations, but we keep getting PR stunts. So the latest PR stunt, so I've talked about what Patel was really doing in New Zealand, was establishing a legal cover for the illegal spying activities via New Zealand and the Woolopai satellite, so that when they're found out again, the FBI is going to be there to cover it up. But just this week, you saw that Trump has put FBI special agents at night on the ground in DC. And they just announced we've got 45 arrests. And one of the arrests was a DOJ employee who threw a Subway sandwich at one of our agents. I almost fell off my chair. And so if people don't know, this could look like, well, yeah, we're cleaning up DC. So first of all, Border Patrol agents or DHS agents or ICE agents are usually uniformed agents. They're an agent of the Department of Justice by the president, but they're not special agents. They, for example, Border Patrol agents go after illegals. ICE agents usually sit on posts on the border, and they check people, and they get dope coming through the lanes in cars. And Border Patrol agents are out there humping the hills. So they're not college degree guys. They're great guys and gals for what they're doing. They get a lot of dope. I did hundreds of cases from there you go, for hundreds of cases from Border Patrol. But they're not special agents. And I was a special agent. And so a special agent has a college degree, and a special agent is supposed to do complex criminal investigations. So what the FBI special agents should be doing, and they're not on the streets of DC, is figuring out who organized all this youth to do this. And they're not going to do that because they're doing it. It's not far from DC is not far from Quantico, and it's not far from Langley. And it's quite obvious that these groups are organized or infiltrated and have agents in these organizations. But if they do that investigation, they're going to uncover their own guys, just like January 6th. I mean, you cannot, in DC, it's all the federal agencies there. I took my wife one time around Old Town Alexandria, because that's where all the foot surveillance is done. Because when you're training, if you're FBI, CIA, DEA, you do foot surveillance in Old Town Alexandria, because it looks like a European city and you can walk around and follow. And I just stopped at a stop sign and said, look at the guy talking into his sleep. It's all over the place up there. So this is a sham as well. This is a PR stunt. FBI agents are not supposed to be arresting low misdemeanor violators. In fact, that had never happened until January 6th. You're supposed to be doing complex criminal investigations, but if you do complex criminal investigations, those complex criminal investigations are going to lead right back to the FBI and CIA.
Yeah, like the pipe bomber on January 6th.
Exactly, like the pipe bomber. Yes, exactly.
Every single time. Every single time. Okay, why should people care about the red heifer being burned secretly in the third temple? And by the way, the red heifer, I would like to note for the audience, I'm putting this very, very diplomatically. That's a genetically manipulated red heifer that I believe there were two of them, weren't there, Jeffrey? Created in the state of Texas and then shipped to Israel. Do I have that right? Because this whole thing is a narrative as they try to bring about the end times and bring back the Jewish Messiah. This stuff starts to get so sick in my mind. I think it's a manipulation of what is in the Bible, and they're trying to foster it into happening today, bringing on essentially World War III, ushering in what?
Well, they're ushering in greater Israel, and they're ushering in a one world Messiah through Israel, which is a false Messiah for those of us who are Christians, obviously. So I think there were 4 or 6 heifers out of Texas, and initially they burned one last month. And this cover story that went out initially was, a couple black hairs were found, so it wasn't the real deal. But now the Texas guy who supplied the red heifers is saying, no, it was the real deal. They actually burned the perfect red heifer. They spread the ashes. There's other guys on X that have shown the ashes. And the ashes are used then to purify those who are going to rebuild the third temple. Now, you got to understand, this is Judaism. This is not Christianity. So but all these American Christian Zionists, and particularly Pentecostals, are all into it. Although Yeshua stands there and says, I will rebuild this temple. He's talking about the tabernacle of us, not rebuilding physical temples anymore. And he has no interest in those anymore. In fact, he says, not a stone of this temple will be left standing. And every time Trump or anybody goes to the Wailing Wall and leans up against the Wailing Wall, what the Israelis are doing and Netanyahu are doing is they're mocking us for that, because what they're saying is, look, you're acknowledging that that the temple is still not just a block is standing, but the whole wall is standing. Therefore, Jesus lied. Therefore, he is a false prophet. Therefore, we are right and you are wrong. But the Wailing Wall is not a wall of the temple. The Wailing Wall, if you do the archaeological studies, as I have done, and I didn't come up with this, others have too, that's the wall of the Roman garrison, because there was a huge garrison that had to keep the zealots and everybody else in line. And even the tradition of shoving notes into the wall is a Roman tradition. So there's a lot of falsehood that is bought into in this entire script, but preparing to bring back the third temple, you have to have killed the red heifer, burn the red heifer, and spread the ashes to purify those who are going to build the third temple. And so it looks like this is coming soon. The problem with that is where they want to build the Temple Mount is on Al-Aqsa Mosque, which is controlled by the Muslims, where the dome is there, which means they've got to take that back. Now, a right-wing Israeli zealot just went up there and pushed his way through with his followers and was praying on there. They have not been allowed to do that. So they are escalating the violence, just like they're escalating the violence with Iran, just like they're escalating the violence with Gaza. And that is for the Muslims and the Christians to destroy themselves, the Goyim to destroy themselves. So that'll leave the Israelis in charge. And that brings about a greater Israel, which is a much larger area than Israel is now. And then eventually, after this war, the one world false Messiah of Israel emerges that they say they already have. That's what's going on here.
Yeah. And you know why a conversation like this will lead to heat, right? You know why. I mean, the audience knows why. This is verboten. This conversation is verboten. You must embrace the Zionist state of Israel. Guys, imagine having so much power and wealth, being able to create the money out of thin air, and acquiring so much power and wealth over the decades and centuries that you now own a nation state so powerful that through its lobby, through bribery, through Epstein-like blackmail, you now pretty much control the U.S. government as well. Well, that's the way I see it. And Syrian Girl reminds Australians, and I would remind everybody, Americans as well, Remember that Israel bombed all 63 hospitals in Gaza and murdered 500 healthcare workers?
They also hit the Catholic Church there, too.
Yeah, and they also just murdered 5 Al Jazeera journalists who were in a journalist off-limits, no bombing, please don't bomb us camp. It's just endless. And I guess my final question for you, coming back to you, Jeffrey, is what is the responsibility of the audience? Better yet, what is the responsibility of Christians, people that call themselves Christians? What is the responsibility of every single American regarding this issue, the ongoing genocide in Gaza?
Well, before I answer that, just don't forget the USS Liberty as well, which Israel bombed our own naval vessel and got away with it as well and killed our own sailors.
Correct.
But if you are a follower of Yeshua, if you're a follower of Jesus, it's real clear that when Jesus, and you can look up the scripture for yourself in the Synoptic Gospels, it's the parable of the vineyard, is they are no longer the chosen people. So those who are following Yeshua are the new Israelites. And so if you are really following Yeshua, then you have a responsibility to call this out. And beyond that, you have a moral responsibility to say, CIA, Mossad, Shin Bet are not more important than the rape, torture, kidnap, and murder of children, which is what Epstein, via his Sabbatean traditions, has done. And now Trump wants to cover all that up. Bongino wants to cover that up. Bondi wants to cover that up. And I'm very heartened that liberty luminaries like you and me are holding on to that. And we're demanding that. You know, Johnson set everybody home early, hoping that everybody will forget about that. But this is our line in the sand as American Christians. If America was great because America was good. America was good because she was godly. If we want to be great again, if you want to make America great again, you're first going to have to become godly again and have fear of God and not put up with and demand that the Epstein list and the Epstein prosecutions take place. This is our hill to die on. This is where we either return to being a virtuous populace, which Benjamin Franklin said we had to have a republic, and we can rescue and restore the republic, or we just continue to decline into the pit.
Yeah. I'm worried that is kind of where we're headed. I hope not. I'm no longer a trust the plan guy. I can tell you that.
Good.
All right. We're over on Jeff's
Trust God.
site. Trust God, indeed. Yeah. Trust in God and pray, friends. Okay. We're over on Jeffrey Prather's site, jeffreyprather.com. Jeff, one other little thing that Christians ought to remember, the 10 Commandments. I think it's commandment number 6, thou shalt not kill. Okay, reconcile what's going on in Gaza, guys, with that commandment. Go ahead.
So certainly. So if you go to the original Hebrew, like I have, it says thou shalt not murder. So you can, there's two, and I'm a longtime firearms instructor. I'm a martial arts instructor. And so self-defense of life to protect your life so you can protect others' life. Just like if you're on an airplane, you put on your mask before you put on your kid's mask. Self-defense to protect life is acceptable. Sometimes you have to take life to protect life. Also, sometimes you have to take life to provide life, which is hunting as well. But those are the pillars of lethal force there that are allowed. But it's not thou shalt not kill. Now, it is true, all early Christians were total pacifists. But Yeshua was not a pacifist. Yeshua was executed for two things: political speech. So if your pastor in your church shut down for COVID or won't talk about political issues, then he's not following Yeshua. Yeshua was executed for political speech, and he was also executed for violence, whipping and quirting and the moneylenders in the temple. And of course, when you upset the money system, then they're going to kill you for sure. But so many modern Christians are not really following Yeshua. They're following what their corrupted or confused pastors are putting out, and because it's nice and safe. But there's nothing safe and nice about being a Christian, and Yeshua tells us that really clearly.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's a really good, nuanced recap of the commandment, thou shalt not murder, because Jeff's right. If you break into my house at night and try to harm my family, you're going to get blasted. You're going to take one right to the gut. And that is protecting my family. And that's the Second Amendment. That's right. How do people follow you, my friend?
Well, they can follow me at jeffreyprather.com, and my shows, The Prather Report, are live Tuesdays and Thursdays at 1 p.m. And you can talk with me on Rumble and X because I want to have a conversation, and then they're recorded at jeffreyprather.com and on all the podcast sites as well. But I am hopeful too, and I am faith-filled too, because Trump and Bondi and Patel and Bongino all respond to pressure. Pedo Joe and Joe's Pedos didn't respond. They didn't care. They just laughed about it. But these folks respond to pressure, and we need to keep the pressure on about Epstein, because this is either where we become a virtuous populace and rescue the republic again, or this is where we just slide and decay into deviltry.
Very good. I appreciate it. Appreciate you very much. Major Jeffrey Prather, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, guys, I will leave a link below to Jeff's website. Make sure you check out his podcasts. And I thank you all for tuning in. I'll remind you every single day for free. Check us out, would you? To get the real news 24/7. It's absolutely free. Won't cost you a nickel. Check us out over at sgtreport.com. And until next time, friends, may God the Creator continue to bless you and yours. Bye-bye.
All they did was print. And this is the result. You've got extreme house prices. You've got extreme stock market valuations. All this money had to go somewhere, and it went into these stocks. But you can't do that anymore. Bailouts are over. That game will not work anymore. So that's why I'm saying that we are going to have a crash, but picking the absolute top of any bubble is an impossible task.
Yeah.
But people need to prepare because it can happen at any time. And it's going to be like walking up the top of the Empire State Building, having a look over the side, and somebody pushes you off.